You know, as much as I love the flashy graphics we get in modern games, there's something special about revisiting older titles that still hold their own visually. Some of these games are over a decade old, but when you boot them up, you'd swear they were released just a few years back. Today, I want to highlight 10 older games that continue to look amazing even in 2025. And let's kick things off with a bit of a hidden gem. Ryse Son of Rome. Now, I'll be honest, this game never got as much love as it probably deserved. The campaign is on the shorter side, and the combat can feel a little repetitive after a while. But when it comes to visuals, Ryse is still in a league of its own. The cinematic execution moves, the brutal slow-motion hits, the way every strike feels heavy. It really pulls you into the role of a Roman soldier fighting his way through chaos. What really sets it apart, though, is the world design. The developers clearly poured an insane amount of detail into bringing ancient Rome to life. From the weather effects and lighting to the massive stone architecture and little details on the battlefield, it all looks polished even today. Marching through war-torn arenas or wandering past towering Roman monuments feels just as impressive now as it did back then. It might not have been a blockbuster when it released, but visually, Ryse Son of Rome is still absolutely worth experiencing. Alright, we all know GTA 5 could easily make this list. It's a gorgeous game, no doubt. But instead of going with the obvious pick, I want to give some attention to a game that doesn't get nearly enough love: Sleeping Dogs. This open-world action game dropped players into a fictional version of Hong Kong, and honestly, it's still one of the most vibrant cityscapes I've ever seen in a game. Sure, it borrowed some ideas from GTA, but it also built its own unique identity with a gripping story, stylish presentation, and, hands down, some of the best hand-to-hand combat in an open-world title. Even now, the visuals hold up surprisingly well. The neon signs glowing in the rain, the crowded markets, the way the city feels alive at night, it all creates such a believable atmosphere. And the combat? Brutal in the best possible way. Punches land heavy, kicks feel sharp, and slamming enemies into walls or nearby objects never gets old. It's easily one of the most underrated open-world games to revisit today, and visually, it still shines. Moving on, another game that really deserves a shout-out is Infamous Second Son. Now, this wasn't tied to Marvel or DC, but it managed to stand tall as one of the most stylish superhero games out there. You step into the shoes of Delsin Rowe, a character who can absorb different superpowers and unleash them in wild, creative ways. Gliding across rooftops as smoke, blasting enemies with neon, or streaking through the sky, the gameplay feels full of energy and freedom. And visually, it's still impressive even now. For an early PS4 title, the effects are next level. The glowing particles, the weather shifts, the way the city lights bounce off puddles. It all makes every moment feel cinematic. The mix of Seattle's moody atmosphere and Delsin's over-the-top powers created some of the most jaw-dropping scenes of that console generation. If you missed this one when it came out, it's absolutely worth checking out today.
This fire's only gonna buy 2-3 minutes diversion tops. I gotta get now. Ain't going back to Curtin Cave.
Yeah, well, whoever's coming is coming for you, man, not me.
Next up, we've got Batman, Arkham Knight, and honestly, this one still blows me away. For its generation, it was one of the best-looking games out there, and even today, it stands tall against newer releases. The rain-soaked streets of Gotham, the haunting glow of neon signs, and the insane amount of detail in every corner of the city make it feel like you're walking through a living comic book. But Arkham Knight isn't just about looking pretty. The gameplay is just as sharp. The free-flow combat system feels smoother than ever. Chaining combos, mixing in gadgets, and pulling off brutal finishers is endlessly satisfying. And then, of course, there's the Batmobile. Some people loved it, some weren't as big on it, but there's no denying it added a whole new layer to exploration and combat. What really makes Arkham Knight special, though, is how it closes out Batman's story. It's cinematic, emotional, and packed with moments that stick with you long after the credits roll. If you somehow haven't played this one yet, it's still one of the strongest superhero games you can dive into, both for its visuals and its storytelling. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about Ubisoft. The studio's had its ups and downs over the years, but there's no denying Assassin's Creed shaped an entire era of gaming. Legendary protagonists, massive historical settings, and some unforgettable storylines. Out of all of them, though, the one that really stands out visually is Assassin's Creed Origins. Set in ancient Egypt, Origins delivered a world that just oozes atmosphere. From endless golden deserts and lush oases to bustling towns and shadowy tombs, every location feels distinct and alive. You can tell the team poured everything into making it feel authentic. Even today, it holds up against modern open worlds with ease. The leap from Syndicate to Origins was massive. The fluid animations, detailed character models, and little touches like drifting sand or fabric moving in the wind all add to the immersion. It's one of those games where you catch yourself stopping just to take in the view. And before we move on, I'm curious. Which Assassin's Creed game is your favorite? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to see what stands out for you.
I'll get the fire going.
The BioShock series really carved out its own space in gaming, especially when it comes to story-driven shooters. And out of all of them, BioShock Infinite might be the most visually mesmerizing. From the moment you step into Columbia, that floating city in the clouds, you're hit with this strange mix of beauty and unease. It's bright, colorful, almost dreamlike. But underneath it all, there's something unsettling. The world building here is just on another level. Every corner of Columbia has something to say. Whether it's overheard conversations, propaganda plastered on walls, or the little details baked into the environment. The city feels alive, layered with tension, ideology, and hidden meaning. But Infinite isn't just about the atmosphere. The gameplay is sharp, and the story keeps unfolding in ways that stick with you. It's a game that doesn't shy away from big themes: politics, faith, race, identity. And by the time you reach the end, you're not just questioning the characters or the plot, but your own understanding of the world it created. For something released back in 2013, it still looks incredible, and the themes feel just as relevant today. If you love narrative-heavy games with worlds that pull you in, Infinite is one you can't skip. Now, speaking of 2013, that was also the year The Last of Us first dropped. And honestly, it still looks shockingly good. This is one of those rare games that has it all. A gut punch of a story, unforgettable characters, tense gameplay, and a post-apocalyptic world that feels disturbingly real. The attention to detail is unreal. Crumbling buildings overrun by moss, abandoned homes filled with little reminders of the lives once lived there. Every piece of the environment tells a story without needing words. It's that environmental storytelling that makes you pause, even when the action is intense, just to take it all in. But what really makes The Last of Us stand out is the emotional weight. Joel and Ellie's journey is raw, human, and full of moments that stay with you long after the credits roll. Even after a decade, it's still one of the most immersive and emotionally powerful games ever made. If you haven't played it yet, now's the perfect time. All right, let's talk about a bit of a controversial pick. The Order 1886. This one didn't land with everyone when it came out, but visually, it's still one of the best-looking console games ever made. Sony really leaned into the idea of a cinematic experience, and while the short campaign and limited gameplay left some people wanting more, you can't deny how stunning it looks. Every scene feels like a high-budget movie. The character models, the lighting, the little environmental touches, they were years ahead of their time. The alternate history London setting, full of foggy streets and Gothic architecture, still looks breathtaking. And honestly, it's hard to find another game that captures that kind of polished film-like presentation even today. Gameplay-wise, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it had its moments. The weapons packed weight, and the cover mechanics were solid, if a bit simple. But here's the thing. This game would have been incredible as a survival horror title. The atmosphere is so gloomy and eerie, and all the tiny world-building details feel tailor-made for something darker. The story didn't quite hit the way it should have, but visually, The Order, 1886 is still worth revisiting as a showcase of what consoles could really do.
I need to reload. It's on the stairs. Hey, back off!
Now, shifting gears completely, let's shine a light on Mirror's Edge. This game might not be in the spotlight anymore, but when it first released, it felt like nothing else. A first-person parkour game with a clean, minimalistic art style and fast, fluid movement. It was revolutionary for its time. You played as Faith, sprinting across rooftops, leaping between buildings, and using momentum to your advantage in a futuristic city ruled by control and surveillance. And even now, the visuals stand out. Mirror's Edge isn't about realism, it's about style. The bright whites, the bold reds guiding your path, and the sharp color contrasts make the world pop in a way that still feels modern today. And if you really want a challenge, try playing non-lethally. Avoiding weapons forces you to rely on parkour and creative takedowns, which makes every encounter tense and rewarding. For a game that came out back in 2008, it still holds up as a visual and gameplay gem. Closing out the list, we've got Killzone, Shadow Fall. This was one of the PS4's launch titles, and man, it came out swinging. Visually, it was a straight-up powerhouse. The futuristic cityscapes, the sharp lighting effects, the detail in the character models. It all felt like a preview of the next generation of gaming. From sunlight breaking through the trees to chaotic firefights lighting up entire rooms, Shadowfall was basically a tech demo that doubled as a full game. The gameplay wasn't flawless, but it was definitely solid. The shooting felt responsive, the animations were fluid, and the movement system gave you a nice mix of dashes, slides, and smooth transitions through the environments. But let's be real, the visuals were what made this game unforgettable. It's kind of wild to think this dropped back in 2013, because even now, it can hold its own against modern shooters. If you skipped over it or haven't touched it in years, it's definitely worth revisiting just to appreciate how good it still looks in motion. And with that, we've wrapped up our list. A little trip down memory lane to remind us that some older games can still stand toe-to-toe with modern releases. It's always surprising how much staying power truly great visuals can have. So, I want to hear from you. How many of these games have you played, and which one are you tempted to jump back into after watching this? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll be checking them out. If this video brought back some nostalgia or just gave you a reason to revisit an old favorite, consider hitting subscribe. It really helps, and it keeps me motivated to make more videos like this. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll catch you in the next one.